What's up, folks? Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm joined with Juanito. Juanito, can you hear me, Juanito?
I can
Loud and clear.
hear you. I can hear you clearly. It's
So,
amazing.
I was talking to you on the phone right now, and I'll just jump into it. Folks, we're going to be talking about a lot more about this stuff on Nino's Corner.tv. And what Juan revealed to me was the USA ID ties to Nevada, and then the ties from that going to fires in LA. And I don't want to get into the details on that because Uh, there's a lot to unpack there. So go to Nino's Corner.tv for that. But what we can talk about here on this channel is the stuff that's already out. So stuff that's already hitting the mainstream, which is, um, man, the whistleblower coming out talking about Josh Shapiro being connected to the assassination attempt on Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then that ties into a lot of other people connecting right into I don't know Christopher Wray, Biden, everyone. I mean, this is big. Juan,
Well,
thanks
let
for
me
joining.
let me let me add this, Nino. This is actually really important that everybody kind of grasp this. Um, in what President Trump has decided that he's going to make sure we get to the bottom of is all the various connections, personnel, budgets, uh, uh, investigations related to multiple assassinations or assassination attempts. And, we've had stuff all over the world that has happened. And it's tied to some of these same groups, including inside of government or money that came from various projects that was appropriated to different groups where then people in those groups are tied to assassination attempts. And some of the methodologies, the financing of different devices and tools, etc. I was talking with someone who was tied to a person that had an assassination attempt on them quite some time back, and they didn't want to have this reopened. It's a wound. Caused a lot of grief between different political groups, families, etc. And their attitude was, I just don't want the pain, or it didn't use that word, but didn't want the, nobody's asking for this, just let it go away, etc. And the reality is, this is not open to, say, individual families or a desire to go revisit stuff. This information's coming out of some of the broader disclosures, information releases from inside several federal agencies,
I mean,
not just one.
Juanito, let me cut you off right there real quick and let me knock out this commercial.
Sure,
Folks, get
sure.
your, Noble Gold, folks. You got to get it. Diversify now. Market crashes strike fast, devastating the underprepared. Just ask NVIDIA investors who saw 600 billion vanish overnight. No warnings, no second chances. Noble Gold has helped thousands diversify their wealth with gold, IRAs, and physical gold, folks. Having managed over 2 billion in transactions. That's crazy. Noble Gold is a trusted choice for Americans serious about financial security. When you open a qualified account, you'll receive 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins absolutely free. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com now, folks. Noble Gold Investments, and get started. You're still a big advocate for gold and silver, right, Juan?
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, just like you're seeing right now in the markets this second, there have been huge moves to suppress the price of silver. It's harder to suppress the price of gold. So you've seen the gold go up pretty significantly. If you look at a chart over the last 6 months, it's pretty steady. Silver's been up and down quite a bit. It's because of manipulation inside the markets. But by the way, uh, one of the things that people aren't paying that close of attention to with the tariffs, if you're importing silver or gold, you're going to be doing that through a tariff wall. And we don't have production here domestically in the US up that high we've been counting on it coming from other parts of the world. So almost instantaneously, you're talking about potentially a 25% increase in the cost of gold here in the U.S. or some significant fraction thereof, just to make up for the tariffs that are going to be put in the way if you were bringing it all in. They're not going to bring it all in. So it's, let's just say that right off the bat, it might be a 10 or 15% increase. And that's why gold has been very steady ever since Trump came in, anticipating
Are
that activity.
you not a big fan of XRP and the cryptocurrencies, Juanito?
Well, I wouldn't say that's the right way to say it. You're going to see significant movements in a number of the cryptos. XRP is because of the ability to speedily do transactions. It's got a front lane position in this horse race. What'll ultimately happen is all of these different cryptos that have utility to allow for smoother trading with smaller transactions will do well because they will be acquired or blended into a couple of the big ones. And I've used the example in the old days, and probably a lot of your audience isn't old enough to remember this, but the older folks will remember. It used to be that if you wanted to go use the bank machine, you would look at a bank that wasn't your bank. You would look to see if one of the transacting groups was noted on your bank credit card and was also on the bank machine. So like Discover, Accel, Accel2, about 8 or 10 different ones. And if your bank was a member of that group that was a clearinghouse for transactions between banks, then you could go to a bank machine at a bank that wasn't your bank, pay a small fee, and get money out of your account. That those operations were purchased and blended into many of the banks. So now when you look at your bank machine card, it doesn't show all of that. Because they're now part of most of the banks. So you can go to almost any bank machine, credit union machine, and get money out of your personal account someplace else. And for a small fee, take out a few hundred or a few thousand. And they have that communication system. And the cryptos like Bitcoin have reached a size now that it's not convenient to add a transaction to the chain showing that activity, because you're adding information to the whole chain of all the Bitcoin everywhere else, all the distributed ledgers. With your small transaction, there's all sorts of costs and fees and drama involved and all that. So before cryptos become used by everybody, there's going to have to be some other smaller slices that can do lots of transactions very economically and smoothly brought into these bigger crypto things, and they'll be added in the chain. And so you're going to end up with, you won't see it, but eventually something like XRP will be blended into your crypto transactions when you want to do, say, Bitcoin or something like that. If you're doing a coffee transaction, it'll show up in something like XRP, which can do huge numbers of transactions very cost effectively and rapidly using a larger coin within, say, your purse or something like that. There's a couple of different ones that are vying for position. And then you have a couple of the bigger ones that are essentially approved by the big bank operations or reserve operations globally, that are their preferred way because it's in-house, it's their system. And so the question is, in this horse race, who gets acquired by who to blend it all into a smooth and seamless ability to do digital trades globally, with bigger and smaller, program operations like an XRP or something like that. With newer technology, computer technology, and trading stuff, the question is, will XRP hold that position longer term? When you get into what's commonly called quantum computing, I don't really like the term because it's not accurate, but it's widely accepted. Um, but just very efficient ways to do complex trading in the computer world. You are assuming there's no better way coming online than, say, an XRP or even a need for it. If XRP is so economical and smooth and rapid, why would somebody have to come up with some way to reinvent the wheel? It does the job. It does it very efficiently, very quickly with existing systems. So the idea that you'd come in with some new quantum system, um, well, there might be something better, but is it economical enough, or is it even needed? If there were low enough in cost per transaction and speed, maybe nobody needs to reinvent the wheel, and it ends up being XRP. And they remember this: the entire crypto universe right now is only like $120 billion. That's all there is real, supposed value in that world. If the whole world goes to this crypto trading, which has been this globalista dream for quite some time, and all the global banks and everything else, then that number would increase not just to tens of trillions, but to hundreds of trillions of dollars, even quadrillions of dollars over the next several decades. So then, if you're the chosen buddy partner and you've got a transaction fee and it's a fraction of a cent per transaction on every cup of coffee sold, every uh, Amazon transaction out there, blah, blah, blah. XRP or something similar going to, $25,000 a piece or 25 million isn't completely unfathomable, because if it gets a per fee transaction into the underlying crypto and you're an early adopter, you could make tremendous money. So that's why it went up about 6 times here just
All right. So
recently.
your point here is stick with gold and silver.
Well, let me say this: there's money to be made in some of these things that is wild, crazy money. Do you bet the farm on it? And all I've said is that um, I wouldn't bet on it as though it's a sure thing. Now, people that put a lot of money into XRP 3, 4 months ago or 3 or 4 years ago have made wild, crazy, insane uh, new money. If you got 6 times what you put in, I have an acquaintance that put $90,000 in back in October. Well, he's got just shy of $500,000 right this second of XRP. Okay, on paper. He could cash it out, and it's not on paper anymore. It goes somewhere and gets converted and goes into a bank account somewhere if he wanted to do that. But then he'd pay taxes and other stuff if you're going to play that game in that world. Does he pull it out after making a big win like that? Do you pull it out, or do
Maybe
you
pull out his
let it
90,
hold? Yeah, well, and in fact,
Well,
that's one of the things oftentimes you do. I'll just give you one quick example. Years ago, I was doing a stock options thing in the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac back in, I think it was the late '80s, and uh, my broker advisor had said, "Look, I think this is going to go from. I think at the time we were in the low 30s. He said he thought it was going to go well over 100, and maybe higher." So when it and I was doing short term, what we call spreads, and so in a short period of time, I think maybe 3 months, I probably was 10 to 1 on my original investments because of the way I was doing them. I pulled back about half of that money, and now I was, fantastic winner. And it was coming up on the end of the year, a tax situation like that, and so I just did that, left the other half ride, continued to play with it. At the end, I think I probably did something around for the whole thing, beginning to end. I think it was 15 to 1. And I remember my accountant was just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." This. Uh, and I had other trades that were, not nearly as lucrative. I was skeptical that the real estate thing could go as far as it would. In retrospect, if I'd let it ride, I might have had, 30 to 1 or something like that. But the other side of the coin is sometimes and you get greedy and you get, uh, stuck like a pig. Okay. Um, when it did finally break and start going the other direction, I had a great advisor on that particular group of things, and I stopped when it had really reached a peak and it had gone unbelievably high, uh, and just went back to other trades and continued to do pretty good. Problem is, it's very time consuming, and I had other stuff that was far more important than making money at that point in time that was pretty critical. So, and I had the time in verse to pay attention. When you just start handing it over to somebody else and let them do everything, in fact, that was part of what I did. I think with the brokers when I was in the early '90s, and I was preoccupied with so many other things, I didn't have time to pay attention. And then they, even when they're good guys, they tend to start churning things, and they get all the fees and like that. And you might make a buck. They think they're good if you double your money. When I was intensely involved, I was far beyond doubling my money in short periods of time, and I was looking at every trade and right on it.
Well, Juan,
Um, it's not as simple as it may sound, and the guys that are doing it, it's high risk.
got you. Let's switch gears real quick and talk because I want to take it back to Nino's Corner.tv and I want to talk about your perspective on the halftime show, which blew me away. And it made a lot of sense, and it's completely the opposite of what I was looking at. So let's talk about that on the because there's some lingo that I don't want to use here, but I do want to talk about here on this channel. Um, Josh Shapiro, Christopher Wray, the web of connections here, and how this actually connects to, well, I guess Kamala at the time, because I mean, this all shows me that if Josh Shapiro is the main suspect, what are we looking at here, Juanito?
Well, I think
And
again,
how long has Trump really known this?
uh, let me say it this way: um, we need um, disclosure. What did different people know? When did they know it? What should they have known? What were they covering their eyes, covering their ears, and not talking about as it happened, or they knew about it? It's not just the assassinations or assassination attempts here in the U.S. The people behind this are trying to affect global um, policy and affairs. And so to say with the whole world on the line for many of these players that they're not doing it in many places is naive. Um, you can go to numerous other countries where the locals are very aware of the fact that there have been international groups killing or attempting to kill or threatening various people in leadership positions whenever they got too close to affecting foreign policy, international trade, uh, starting or stopping a war. Um, it's been
What about what
standard
I just
operating
had?
procedure.
I just had Benjamin Fulford on, right? And I wanted to ask you about that. He's saying two factions of the Illuminati are fighting, and Trump's on one. The other side is all the other deep state actors, and basically, uh, Trump is under control now, and he's been reined in. And the helicopter crash involved one of either Trump or one of his doubles. Do you have any intel on that, Juanito? I mean, I feel kind of silly even saying this on YouTube, but I just wanted to get your clarification on this. I mean, Benjamin Fulford does believe what he's saying. He believes it wholeheartedly, and I don't like to censor people, but I just wanted to get your outlook on what he said.
Uh, we're all adults here. Um, and uh, Fulford had a Great career over at Forbes. He was there for a reason. There's some interesting details, such as accidentally just happening to cross paths with David Rockefeller when Rockefeller was headed to China, which was really a change point, in my opinion, in Fulford's career. How does that happen? When you understand the travel mechanisms of somebody like David Rockefeller at that time, he doesn't accidentally show up in the lounge in the area that you're at and then decide to talk with somebody like Fulford, knowing his history. That kind of an accident just doesn't happen. So who's trying to get information out in what way? Um, we'll just have to see. Of course, as you see
So you're
with
saying Benjamin Fulford could be sending out misleading information on
well,
purpose?
let me just say this. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Uh, it could have been an intentional bump that was totally innocent on his part, but somebody else wanted to use him to get a particular thing out. Look at what's going on over at
No, but
USAID right now.
what about his intel on the helicopter crash? That's not this. Is that completely false, or have you heard something about this or anything that
Uh,
Trump was involved in the helicopter crash or one of his doubles?
yeah, you know, uh, again, for example, USAID. Look at all of the people that are in media who got money from USAID. They weren't necessarily the bad guys. There was an intent to push certain stories in certain areas, be it Arab Spring or a war in Syria or something like that. And so, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, or reporters tied to them that do their own independent stories and then sell them back into those groups. They got money to be in the right place at the right time to cover a subject that somebody else wanted covered from legitimate media. And so they got paid to be there. Uh, there's a lot of manipulation that goes on that looks innocent enough. And yet, when you look, including to the people involved, the reporters involved, etc. And yet somebody behind the scenes is weaving pieces of that together so that it can be used not just in the media out to the public, you and I, but also behind the scenes politically to political leaders. And they'll point out a news story. Hey, you saw this in the news story. And as though it's official and it's valid and everything else. There's so many layers to this game of propaganda
All right,
and
that's
propagandizing. And so let me just say this. Uh, I I'm not the internet police. We aren't the internet police. We're in an audience that understands we all have to put our big boy shorts on. And I think we can reserve judgment on some things as more and more comes out, but you can draw your own conclusions. Yeah, and
all
some
right.
of these stories, people are being used to push angles, or they're contriving things to be relevant and important. I don't care if you're talking about the latest assassination attempt or the aliens that landed in your neighbor's yard. There's some people are,
Are picked to further the stories. In other words, to
and
escalate them.
or
All right.
make themselves easy, they're trying to be relevant and they come up with the latest, they had chili last night and whatever. So at some level we can take a lot of things in and digest it and then decide, is that information
Or
actionable,
maybe it
usable, provable?
sounds too fantastical. It sounds too fantastical. I mean, it does to me, but
Yeah, we have to, as a group, Nino, um, be filtering and deciding what's actionable, what can we really do with our attitudes, input, etc. And I might have some things that I, keep in reserve that can be, proven out to me with more information. But short of additional information, you just can't go there on a whim and lose your way. And I go to the assassination stuff. The conversation I had the other day, literally within hours of that attempt, that I'm specifically talking about here, I'm not telling you which one, we had information that um, would lead any sane person, as far as I'm concerned, including with the imagery, etc., that it was not what was commonly said or advertised.
Oh, but
Without
anybody with half a
further
brain could
stuff.
figure that out, though. Everyone knows. Nobody
Well, but no,
trusts
I'm saying
anybody.
in a specific case here, Nino. I'm saying in a specific case, we had clear indications it wasn't what was being said in the media. And there was follow up to that, but there wasn't enough proof to go to the wall with it. And so for a very long time, I've been very settled in what actually occurred in my mind, but without some further documentation, proof, etc., it was a non-starter. It just had to sit and wait. And to come out and go against the broader narrative, I think would have been irresponsible because there wasn't anything to support it.
Well,
At this point in time,
I
knowing
think
what's
everyone
coming out,
assumed, but everyone assumed, everyone kind of knew who was behind it, right? I mean, everyone knows deep
well,
down, we
in
all
this case,
know.
I'm talking about a specific case, and there was concern, and there was a lot of reason why
So
that
you're
concern
not
was
talking about
there.
Trump, or are you talking about a
I'm
different?
talking about a completely different case. That's why I'm saying
Okay,
that's
okay.
very old. And talking with the family member on that. And at the end of the day, um, the family member just wants it to go away. I don't think it should go away because even though most all of the players are gone, the players that they anointed to be in the next position, uh, carrying this on, uh, understanding the origins helps you understand, can you trust the next person or the next person? Do they put them in there to cover and protect and continue to do the same thing? Assassination attempts across the globe continue. Trump wanting to get to the truth of what happened in the attempts on him is healthy because if he gets to the facts on his, we may be able to backtrack and see other stuff that happened that changed the course of world history and then begin the reparative process to move back to governments that are in power and control, who are actually the governments that the people have voted for, not the ones that have been manipulated into position either through vote
All right, Juan, let me
manipulation or other things.
before we take this back to the back channel, because I want to talk to you about your perspective of the halftime show. I want to talk more about the assassination attempts, and I want to get deep into the USAID, no holds barred, how Nevada has ties to. I mean, we're going to talk about the Area 51 and the LA fires, correct, Juan? But
Yeah.
first, I want to go into this. What's coming out in mainstream right now is a federal whistleblower filed a criminal complaint on February 7th, 2025, alleging Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's involvement in an assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. It also alleges that Christopher Wray conspired with the Biden administration to hide the reports. The Butler County DA's office is currently investigating these allegations. No arrests or official charges against Shapiro have been confirmed. So this is all allegedly by official sources as the latest update. So
Well,
are they
let me
onto
clarify
something here
one
or
thing. No, let me
okay?
clarify one thing. What's being discussed here isn't precisely the assassination attempt. What's being discussed here is the information concerning uh, things that were known or reported or shared not being um, placed in the right hands, being blocked from getting in the right hands to slow down or obstruct an honest investigation. So, where they may have had the opportunity to move the investigation forward, bring light on things, they haven't been forthcoming. So, the question is why? Why wouldn't you quickly provide that information? Why would you be obstructing it? And we see this over and over again where it looks collusive. Uh, I don't care what circumstance you're talking about. Certain mass, and I'm not even using specific stuff because of where we're at, but things like that. And then you start looking, well, why isn't this person providing access to that database or this information or this report? Why is that report getting lost? Be it police officers or somebody at the hospital or even the coroners or the you know uh, transporting of bodies and burials. A lot of times it just defies explanation. Well, why wouldn't you just quickly provide that? What are you trying to
Unless they're trying to cover
hide?
something up and hide things, something
Exactly,
which we
exactly, which
know.
is the truth.
So okay, okay, all right. So will that lead to opening up an investigation on Shapiro, on Christopher Wray? I mean, is 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗀 going to be the one to do this? I mean, there looks like they're setting up their dominoes to fall. So, I mean, if this is already coming out and being leaked, it looks like once 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗀 gets in there, it's game over. Correct?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a game over, but they're certainly going to have a lot of explaining to do, and part of this is, um, you know, you turn over one rock, and the trail leads to another rock, and then it leads to another rock, and all of a sudden, if these are secret handshake clubs. These are secret beneficiaries. You don't realize that they all have some project in common that benefits as you start thinking over, well, both these people are investors in the same operation. And if this gets blown up, it leads to something else. That's why even the work that I've mentioned a little bit in the background, looking at the public bonds and the issuance going back to Arkansas, and then the continuation of that in modern day America. As you understand that the bonds are really the key of this money laundering in a million different ways that we're all having to carry the weight of, and yet it looks it looks simple enough. It's just a public bond issue. It's just a law firm. It's just uh, the unions and the SEC doing what they do. Well, when you understand it's a money laundering operation and uh, that a lot of the wealth that's being transacted and guaranteed to these different groups, it's all tied into these bonds, public bonds, uh, pseudo public private bonds. All of a sudden, the scales start dropping from your eyes. And that's what's going to be really probably, I think, the most revealing aspect of what comes out over the next several years. And also what got not just unraveled, but stopped over the next many years. And it's going to be um, start out in many cases as civil investigations, reporting investigations, even the stuff going on over at the IRS related to the way they handle money through the bond markets for tax purposes is going to be so explosive. People are just their minds are just going to be blown completely by what they learn. It'll take a few years to fully grasp it. But even the thing we're going to talk about uh, related to California and Nevada here in a few minutes
That has to
on the back channel.
that involves
That's a
USAID, right?
yes, yes.
Well, let's get over there right now, Juan. I'm pressed for time. So, all right, folks, I'll see you at @ninoscorner.tv. Juan, oh, folks, the Jennifer Mack. Get to the Jennifer Mack and get yourself some Juan gear. I'll put the link down below. Anything you want to say on the Jennifer Mack, Juanito?
There's still a few silver things for the event that I'm doing in Vegas on March 7, 8, 9. Well, but for the silvers, it's just the 7th. It's on the Saturday, and so they can go read about that over there. And then there's a few of the 2024 Flotus coins left over at Gum Road in some packages there. If anyone wants to get it, the silver's moving. When it finally breaks free, I think it'll move radically, and those are still a great buy. The other ones are, I think, pretty much sold out. I might have one little issue that I do, but anyway, there you go.
All right, Juan. And then I also want to talk to you about Elon Musk replacing the entire government with AI. I really want to get that out of the way. And I want to talk about Area 51, LA fires, USAID, conservatives that took money from USAID. Let's get into that on 𝗬𝗏𝑆corner.tv right now, folks. See you over there right now. 𝗬𝗏𝑆corner.tv. All right, all right, Juan, see you there.
All right, bro.